Hi there, it's Claude Larson, back to share with you how I made this sketchbook. I had some pretty nice comments on this sketchbook. This was my 100-day project, and I wanted to find a way to archive it. So I created a little sketchbook to store it in. So it's 100 pieces of, basically I was working on composition and collage. Which is not really the point of this video. This video is to show you how you can make your own sketchbook. And I will say I was stopped in my tracks at buying sketchbooks, sometimes because they weren't the size that I wanted, but often it was just like the price tag. I thought, it was a lot of money for something I'm just going to use for practice, and art materials can be expensive, so I'd rather spend it on good paint or good substrates or cradle panels or whatever, and I didn't really want to spend sometimes, upwards of $30, $40 for a nice sketchbook. So I decided that I could make my own. It's really inexpensive, and I'm going to show you the steps to make one for yourself. So let me put this to the side. Basically, the first question you're going to ask yourself is like, what size paper do I want to put in there? So I cut out a bunch of paper. These were actually, I think maybe, I don't know. I don't even know what size they were. Maybe 11 by 14 or something. And I cut them in half. And it's just hot press watercolor paper because I want to start working plein air and just sketching outside. So I made myself a little kit to do that. And these are the pieces of paper that I'm going to be doing that on. So I'm sort of making the sketchbook before I have the artwork, but that's okay because then I can just add it as I go. So I have the paper, and once you have the paper, you can decide what size you want your cover to be, because you want it to be just a little bit larger than your paper so that the edges don't get all beat up. Just like when you buy a hardcover book, the edges of the paper are protected because the cover is just slightly larger. And all I used was, it's like cheaper than backer board. It's just some pretty sturdy cardboard that they sell in sheets for a couple of bucks at the art store. I see no reason why you couldn't use corrugated cardboard or any other stiff cardboard that you have from a leftover box, as long as it's big enough for what you want to put in it. So what I initially did, I had two pieces, a front and back cover, and I taped them together, and I marked where I wanted the holes, of course, using my paper, right, to make sure the holes in the sketchbook would hold the paper. And I drilled them with a 1/4-inch drill bit. And the reason I used a 1/4-inch drill bit was because I have a 1/4-inch hole punch. And you'll see where that comes in just a minute. So two pieces of cardboard, cut larger than your paper, mark holes, tape them together, drill it with a 1/4-inch drill. Done. Then what I did was I took this. Now this is paper. This was like inexpensive, I want to say like student grade watercolor paper that I bought in a really big sheet, and I painted the whole thing just sort of willy-nilly. Nothing serious about it. This has been sitting in my paper stash for years, probably several years. And obviously, since I have no plans to use it, I felt like it would be good to cover my sketchbook in it. So I have a piece of paper. It's painted on both sides. I'm trying to decide which side I want to show and which side do I want to be concealed. I should probably look at the other side and see what I've done here. Simple. All right, so I'm going to add glue to this side, and those of you who would have made the other choice, you'll have to make that choice on your own sketchbook. I'm going to take, this is the cardboard cover, and I have a little, this is just neutral pH adhesive. It's made by Line Co. And I find it's, you know, pretty good. It's archival. I don't think I need anything that fancy for this, but, you know, it's what I have on hand. I mean, I'm sure if you had just PVA glue or white glue or whatever, it would be fine. Hundreds of years from now, when you're a famous artist and they find your sketchbooks, somebody will restore it. And then I just take some glue and I spread it across here. And you'll see I was pretty like generous with this glue, I guess. Make sure you get the edges. Then you just flip it over, and this paper that I am sticking it on has been cut approximately 1 inch longer on all sides. So really measure this, add 2 inches to both dimensions, and you're done. I wouldn't kill yourself with the math here, as long as you have enough to fold it over. Now I got a little glue on here because I'm trying to do this in a smaller space than I normally would. So there it is, right? Press it on there. All right, and what I'm doing is I'm putting this on parchment paper, and I'm going to put a couple of books on top of it, and I'm going to set it to the side so that I can show you the next step. So I have old dictionaries. I keep these on hand for just this occasion. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, so next step. What I already did is, this one I glued yesterday. I let it dry under the books overnight. And now I'm ready to do the next part of the cover. So, and I forgot to mention this, but you know, you're gonna drill this with a drill bit, and it's only cardboard. And if you get like weird fuzzy stuff, or you don't have a really nice edge, you can just sort of trim it out with an X-Acto knife, which does a really good job of getting rid of what you don't need. Scratching it out of there. All right, and then you'll have a nice opening. Okay, so this has been glued down. This glue is dry. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the inside of the cover. And all this is paper that I have cut that is slightly smaller than the cover. So this is probably a 1/4 inch shorter. So again, measure your book cover. This is 8 by 11.5. And so I cut this, you know, 7 3/4 by 11 1/4, something like that, just so that it's smaller. And what I've done here is I've cut out the corners, and I want to show you that piece because I didn't cut a square out of the corner, right? I cut out a square and then a little more. And I'm taking that away. Now let me do that on the other side. I cut right up the same width as the cardboard, and then I cut on an angle here. Get rid of that. Same width as the cardboard. Cut it on a bit of an angle here. Get rid of those corners. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a strip of glue. I think I'll add it to both here and here. Right? A little on the paper, a little on the cardboard. And then I'm going to hold this and roll it. So I get a nice straight edge and I get the full width of the paper. I don't have any like flimsy overlap. Wipe off the glue. Right. Show you that again. And now here I have the holes, but that's okay because I will be able to locate those holes and then I can punch through them. So again, tip this so I get a nice straight edge. Oh, went out a little far with the glue. Oh well, that's what paper towels are for. Wipe it up. Two good edges. Now I'm going to fold these over. So they've been cut at an angle. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to roll so I get the whole edge turned over. You can really set it in place. Get a little, this is just a brayer off my table. Last side. Roll, get your nice edge, fold it over. And press it down with a brayer. I'm getting a little glue on my brayer. That's fine. I'll just clean it off. A little alcohol generally does the trick. All right. So this is the inside of my cover, but I don't want it to look like this, right? I want it to be nicely finished. So that's where these pieces come in. And because I've had that inch of overlap, this can be a little smaller and it'll just sort of blend in. You can, I mean, you can make this contrasting. I could have picked like this yellow color, this teal color. I could have picked anything and put that on the inside to make it a contrast. I just had a big sheet of this paper, so that is what I used. So add some glue, spread it out. And then this side looks kind of more interesting to me, so I'm gonna Add some glue here. Spread it out. Bring this back. And you know, you have a few minutes to work at this, so you can, you know, I mean, once you brayer over it, it's down there, but it's pretty workable. This does not have enough glue on the edge, so I'm just going to get some glue on there. And use whatever you want on top to roll over this. Big fan of parchment paper. Nothing seems to stick to it. How'd we do? Oh, that edge is not holding. So we'll run a little glue down there. Another pass with the brayer. Yep, I can see all the glue I'm going to have to clean up. That's fine. And now you've got your cover, and you can find your holes, sort of. You kind of gotta, it would have been good if I remembered what end they were on. Yeah, there's one. So I'm going to poke a hole in there. There are my holes, and I'm going to give this a go. Here, line it up. Let's see if I can pop them out. No, looks like I'm going to have to drill through it again. Oh, that's all right. Start at the surface. And again, if you have sort of weird bits, you just take an X-Acto knife, clear it out. It's all good. Remember, this is a sketchbook. This is like for practice, for fun. It's not supposed to be perfect. I think that's part of what makes it, you know, fun and handmade. Now this hole came out actually a little better. Just clean it. You can wait until after everything is glued down and just drill your holes, but I don't know. I just found that it's easier if all I have to do is drill through the paper once I locate the holes. All right, so that's how to make each cover. And the next item right, so now you've got the inside, the outside, all done. The next thing I have are, these are called book rings. And what I like about them is they have a little groove. I'm not entirely, yeah, there you go. You can see that. And when you close them, they're very strong. Like I'm pulling really hard and these are not coming apart. But if you push them away from each other, the hook undoes. And all you have to do is put it through your holes, right? Punch holes in your paper at whatever distance this is, right? I did not pre-measure or punch the holes because I'm gonna do my painting on them first, and then once it's done and dry, I'll punch holes in them and just sort of stick them in this book. Now, the other cover, I just showed you the first part, so I still have to finish it, but you'll see that, seal this up, you'll have a nice sketchbook, and you can open this up and you can add as many pages as you want. And I think what I really like about this one is it's just like this big, fat book that, like, you know, it's not like if you had a textbook where the angle of it would be the same from binding to the end of the book. It's thicker than that. So these rings allow you to have a book that is like that, you know. It's this big on this side and this big on this side. And it's just kind of fun because honestly, I leave it on my coffee table and I just stand it up on one end so that it's my coffee table book. And I leaf through it every now and again just because it makes me happy to see my work, and other people pick it up and they look through it as well. So it's just kind of a fun thing to have. So I hope that this tutorial was helpful. Again, it's just about deciding what size you want, cutting some cardboard, covering it. And again, you can cover it with whatever you want. You could paint it if you wanted to. If you just had plain cardboard and you know, threw some gesso on there and threw some paint on there, you could paint it. I just found it, I found this a good excuse to use up some paper in my stash. So I don't know about you. I have stuff that I've had for a really long time, and I don't know if guilty is the right word, but sometimes I just feel like, oh, I should really use that. What am I going to use that for? I don't want to waste it. And this just delights me. It's like, oh, look, a fancy cover for my book from, you know, what was otherwise unused paper. So I still, once the other one is dry that I stuck under books at the beginning, I'll add this to the inside of that. I'll have 2 book covers. And as I continue to make my plein air paintings, this will be my plein air sketchbook. Okay, thanks. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.